This is the John Brown Alliance, home of the DC Democratic Socialist Resistance. Right now in DC, several National Guard units from other states are about to be deployed, if not already deployed, on our streets. Quite a few years ago, when Donald Trump was first elected to office, he had a picture in the White House of Andrew Jackson. Right now, he is officially the Andrew Jackson of the 21st century, and this is in fact the Trail of Tears. But don't fret none, because the resistance is here. Welcome to our first daytime broadcast. This has been a long time coming. We have a lot going on here. We have a company called Needful Things by Nick. We produce many things here, including vegetables, perfume, jewelry, and other items. This company was started in the first Trump administration in order to become more self-sufficient as an entity and depend less on these trends in government, like tariffs and so forth. So we're in our 9th year now, and this requires a lot of my time during the daytime, which is why I have not been posting regularly. Now that the season is kind of stable, between March and this time of year is pretty busy. I have a little bit more time to devote and try and commit to a regular schedule on YouTube, even though this is my first year doing this. Before I forget, I asked you to like and subscribe to these videos. It's been brought to my attention that some of the algorithms on YouTube are changed a little bit so that you might not be receiving the videos you want to receive. That's just what I heard. But like and subscribe to these videos if you want to continue to get updates on what's going on in this area and the John Brown Alliance. So, are you ready to ramp this shit up? Well, this is going to be a very big week in Washington, D.C. Today is the 23rd of August, 2025. Right now, I'm not going to show any clips. I usually don't show clips or anything like that because there are people a lot more talented than I that show those on YouTube, and you can find them basically anywhere if you're following the resistance or any type of groups that are protesting and what's going on in America right now. You can get that information. But right now, we are at a critical point. Long ago, and I think Creator or the powers that be have been very generous to this country, allowing it to make mistakes and find its way. But on January 6th, we crossed the Rubicon into an authoritarian government simply by the fact that the overturning of a lawful election was allowed. The attempted overturning. Protocols were not adhered to. Folks who seek to do this nation harm were allowed to run amok. People who called themselves patriots defecated inside the United States Capitol and spread it over the walls. These people are now running our government. These people are heathens. These people are evil, and they are not who you think they are. if you're still part of Cult 47, one day you're going to have a reckoning and a realization, but we're past the time where I have time to sit here and try and convince other people that this is not right or people's rights are being violated. That time is coming past. You have, if you're still watching this video, a choice to make. And like Michael Fanone has said, if you are familiar with him, he's one of the DC cops that got assaulted on January 6th. It's time to evaluate who you work for, and if necessary, quit your job. Because you can pay now or pay later. And if you pay later, you're going to have nothing left. I'd rather pay now and invest a little bit in America. Now, my mother had me. She gave me life. So, I am not going to beg a white man for mine in front of any camera, on any street, anywhere. I don't fear MAGA. I don't fear the National Guard. I don't need danger music. I don't need a sidekick. I don't need any of this shit. Because I believe in me and what I'm doing is right. And I'm going to continue to do exactly that. Now, that being said, come Friday of next week, things are going to ramp up a lot. Right now, as Stephen Miller says, there are old white people in Washington, D.C. that are communist and every thing you can think of, defending your rights to be black and brown and walk the streets of Washington, D.C. without being accosted, attacked, or terrorized by people walking around in uniform. By this time next week, they will be armed. So here's the solution. Once again, we are asking for everyone to participate. 340.1 million people live in the United States of America. If only 10 million spent their Labor Day vacation in Washington, D.C., we could wrap this up like that. Very simple. Now, I'm going to try and spend the weekend giving you some tips if you're going to come here on what to avoid, if you need a room, campground, so on and so forth, because there is a process and there are logistics to everything. I understand that. It's not as simple as jumping in your car and coming down here with no money. So there's a workaround for this. The first thing we need to do is establish a mode of transportation. I would advise that if you're planning on coming to D.C. for Labor Day weekend for protests, that you drive and not fly. If you do fly, drive back to wherever you came from. Because part of this shutdown is going to involve the airports, and you don't want to get caught up in that. If we have a general strike that starts before the 1st of September, then it will affect the airports and the transportation system. Mark my words, there is going to be a government shutdown sometime in October. And the reason for this is because we are compelling Democrats not to finance the federal government because they have not yet received doged funds, stolen funds by Donald Trump and his administration that were supposed to be allocated to states. Maryland has not received their funds, and several other blue states. So we paid into the system and already got nothing back. Now, these were funds that were allocated by Congress, by the last Congress, that we were supposed to have received by now. We have received nothing. Most people have already filed taxes for this year. So the probability that they're going to receive anything from that is slim and none if they're living in a Democratic state or they voted for Democrats. But I digress. So there is going to be a government shutdown. I do predict that, because most of the more progressive Democrats are on board for this, and you need to get ready for it. Whatever money you have to save, whatever you have to do, you need to do it now. But if you have the extra money to participate in the general strike, which is going to be kicked off by Labor Day weekend, then please do that. Because we need as many people as we possibly can get in Washington, D.C. right now to join the old white people who need to go take a nap. Now, before we go any further, I want to address two issues. One, success of boycotts. Target CEO last week resigned. The black boycott of Target has been called the largest successful boycott since the Birmingham bus boycotts. So keep that in mind. They do work. Second, what works in one community might not work in another. But one thing that does work in predominantly black and brown communities is abstaining from buying from companies which do not reflect our values. The second thing that I want to talk about before I get off the air for a few minutes is these between races debates. There's something called a foundational black American, and apparently they have problems with Africans who are now Americans. If you live in middle America and you're not coastal, and you're having this back and forth, we've already deleted you off of our podcasts. We don't subscribe to those kind of notions. This is clearly not the time for that bullshit. Okay, that's clickbait. Right now we need all hands on deck and everyone on board. Black people should not be telling Africans that they're not black, and Africans should not be telling black Americans how to behave when it comes to oppression in this country. Leave your opinions at the door. What we need to do is have a united front. This is not going to work unless we do it together. And the first thing we need to do is get out in our communities, decide what is most important, and act on that right now. Now, if you want further information or you want to get in touch with people on this channel, you can do it at johnbrownalliance2025@gmail.com. Once again, that's johnbrownalliance2025@gmail.com. I'm going to wrap this up now because I'm probably going to be doing several videos during the weekend. Right now, I got to tend to my gumbo. But keep on keeping on, and we will be back. That's it for this moment, but we're going to be on here more than not this weekend. This is the John Brown Alliance. Good luck.